Intermittent fasting. It's promised as a path to a leaner, healthier life, but the data reveals a fundamental contradiction, a paradox.
We've all heard it. Skip breakfast, unlock your body's full potential. But what if that advice is flat out wrong for a huge portion of the population? I mean, what if for nearly 1 in 3 people, it's not just failing to work, but actively pushing them towards weight gain and diabetes?
You see, the problem isn't fasting itself. The problem is assuming that every single human body will react to it in the exact same way. And that brings us to a really critical idea, the metabolic mismatch.
So, what is a metabolic mismatch? Well, it's what happens when a generic health trend, like fasting, goes head-to-head with your personal biological blueprint and loses. It's a conflict between popular advice and your own genetic truth, where a supposedly healthy action actually triggers a dangerous reaction in your body.
Think of it like this. Trend-based health advice treats everyone like an average human. That doesn't really exist. It's a blunt instrument. Genetic precision, on the other hand, is like a surgical scalpel. It knows your biology is unique and that you need a plan tailored specifically for you, not some one-size-fits-all rule. So, what's the source code for this mismatch? Well, the evidence points directly to specific variations in our DNA. So let's take a look at the genetic culprits. For people with these genetic variants, their basic biological hardware just processes the fasting signal differently. The instructions for controlling blood sugar and hunger get scrambled, turning what should be a time of rest and repair into total metabolic chaos. There are 2 main genes we need to talk about. First, there's TCF7L2, sometimes called the diabetes gene. If you carry this variant, fasting can actually make your liver dump more sugar into your bloodstream, leading to bizarrely high blood sugar when you haven't even eaten. Then there's FTO, the obesity gene. This one can mess with your hunger hormones, so instead of hunger fading during a fast, it gets louder and louder until it's just unbearable. And this isn't just theory. We can see it in the data. Look at this graph. The blue line shows people without the FTO risk gene. See how their hunger drops after a meal and stays down? Now look at the red line. That's for people with the risk gene. Their hunger is never properly suppressed. For this group, fasting doesn't reset hunger, it just makes it worse, which makes sticking to a fast biologically almost impossible. But genetics are only one piece of the puzzle. The other piece is what's happening in your body right now, hormonally. And that brings us to a major pitfall we call the cortisol trap. We have to be clear about something. Fasting is a stressor. There's no way around it. Now, for a healthy, resilient body, that's actually a good thing. It's a beneficial stress that makes you stronger. But if you're already dealing with a lot of chronic stress, fasting can be the one thing that pushes your system over the edge into dysfunction. And here's exactly how that happens. Fasting kicks on your body's central stress response system, the HPA axis. That triggers a surge in the stress hormone cortisol. And when cortisol is chronically high, it sends a powerful survival signal to your body. Danger is coming. We need to save energy. And how does the body save energy? By storing it as visceral fat, the dangerous fat around your organs. So instead of burning fat, your body is actually hoarding it. Okay, so identifying the problem is step 1. But how do we navigate this incredibly complex biological reality? This is where the METHOS solution comes in, a totally new way of thinking about personalized health. Think of METHOS less like an app and more like a biological operating system, a BioOS. Its entire job is to take in your unique data, your genetics, your hormones, your real-time stats, and generate precise health instructions just for you, making all those generic rules totally obsolete. And to do this, the system uses something called a triangulation engine. So instead of just looking at the time on the clock, it combines information from 3 totally different biological layers to figure out if your body is actually ready to handle the stress of a fast. So what are these 3 layers? First, you've got the static layer, which is your DNA, your fundamental hardware. Second, the dynamic layer, which is your blood and hormone markers, a snapshot of your body's current chemistry. And third, the real-time layer from your wearables, which tracks how your body is doing from moment to moment. What's so powerful is how these layers answer very specific questions. Your DNA tells us, is your hardware even built for fasting? Your blood work tells us, is your system right now too stressed to handle it, by looking at things like cortisol? And your wearables, by tracking your heart rate variability, can tell us if you recovered enough overnight to take on a new stressor today. This triangulation engine completely changes the game.
The question is no longer some generic, when should I fast? Instead, it becomes a deeply personal, biologically relevant question. Based on all my unique data, can my body actually tolerate the stress of a fast right now?
So here's the bottom line. Fasting is a tool, not a religion. And if you use that tool without understanding your own biological context, you could be making things worse. The era of blind biohacking is over. It's time to start leveraging your personal data and move from generic rules to genetic precision.
METHOS, your biological operating system.